Hi, browsing through internet and talking to a lot of people, especially students, one thing I noticed was that a lot of people have problems with proper note taking, studying and exam techniques. So I decided to do a brief video combining all three of these areas using the techniques and tips I've used throughout the years. This might sound like I'm reading off of a list because I actually will be, because I have prepared a list of techniques and tips and strategies you can use, and I don't want to forget any of them. Okay, so bear with me. The most important thing about note taking, studying, and answering exam questions is that it is a very personal thing. So, the techniques that would work for me might not work for you, or worse, could even make you laugh. Therefore, it is important to try as many techniques as possible until you develop a style or a technique that works for you. All the techniques I'm discussing on this video are the techniques I've tried myself over the years, and some worked for me and some didn't, and I'll try to show you as many examples as possible in each of the areas I'm discussing. Okay, so we'll move on to note taking. Okay, note taking. Before doing anything, always put the date, name of the subject, and the section covered in the lecture on the paper you're using. This helps you to organize your notes and quickly identify any of them if by any chance they're missing. Also, okay, I know most of you are not going to like this, but sitting at the center of the class, preferably towards the front, provides you with less distractions and help you to keep your concentration. Okay, the next question is what to take down. Here are some tips. Number one, if your teacher writes something on the board or repeats something over and over, there is a high chance that it is a key point. So make sure to take it down. Number two, if you don't understand a part of a lesson, try to write as much as possible on that section. This will help you to understand it when you review them later. Number three, always write down the important dates, if there are any, definitions, vocabulary, or any technical terms. Okay, the next question is how to take the notes. My advice would be to make them as short as possible, but of course, there are some areas you just have to write a lot and can't shorten them. Okay, use bullet points wherever possible because it helps to get the points across and it is very easy to do it. I know this is not a very good example, but you can see I have used bullet points in taking the notes down. Okay, if you are a person who likes to use a lot of colors in your notes, the best thing is to color coordinate them. For an example, black for main topics, blue for regular notes, and red for important areas or notes, green for green for additional notes, and etc. If you don't like a lot of colors on your notes, you can try circling, drawing boxes around topics, or underlining important parts, etc. I can show you a note where I have used a lot of colors. I'm not sure if they are clear enough because these are quite old notes. Okay, here I have used a separate colors for the definition and the regular blue for the regular notes and black for the titles. Okay, then who don't like a lot of colors on my notes, but here I have used pink and green because these were the parts that were important but not exactly related to the theory we were covering on the lesson. Okay, third one is highlighting. Highlighting helps to locate the important points at a glance, so do not overly highlight the text on your notes because then the main point of highlighting is kind of lost. So highlight a word or two or a sentence to the maximum. It also helps if you use one highlighter color for one subject and you don't use that color for any other subject. Okay? Sometimes when I forgot an answer to a question, or like I felt like, okay, I know the answer but it just doesn't come out, I used to mentally flip through the pages of the notes and locate the highlighted words. It was actually a mental process that came to me with a little practice. Okay, let me show you highlighted part, but this is also too highlighted for my liking. But the next thing is, do not rely on other people's notes, because their notes are something that works for them and those might not work for you. But if you feel like you have missed some key points or you have taken the notes inaccurately, compare the notes with a friend and fill in those blanks. Do not leave blanks in your notes, okay? Next point is kind of related to the fourth point. If the teacher or the lecturer is too fast and you can't jot all the key points down, leave space for the missed parts and continue writing. If you keep trying to remember what it is that you missed, you might miss a whole lot more. So, just keep on writing and you can compare the notes and fill in those blanks after the class. Another very important tip is try to use diagrams or illustrations and flowcharts wherever possible. It adds a little variation to your notes and makes the reading a lot easier. Let me show you an example. Okay, this is a diagram. I don't know. I use for chemistry in a school. This diagrams makes it very easy to remember all these reactions than just reading off on a paragraph or something. And I also find it easy to draw something and then explain than doing it with just words. You might not get marks for the illustration, but it helps you not to forget any key points. For an example, it is very easy to remember the attributes of these items. If you draw it in a diagram like this, it's actually very easy to remember and locate them other than just reading it off of a paragraph or a list or something. Next one is, if you come up with any questions while rereading or reviewing the notes, or even as and when you write them, just jot them down in the margin of the page and always go back and find the answers to those questions. For an example, while I was writing this, I had a question. Why does this have to be this way? Wrote down why, and then I went back and tried to find out why. This might actually be very helpful in exams as well, in studying for exams as well. Okay, number 8, if you have one of those subjects or teachers whom you find difficult to understand in the classroom, go through the previous lecture notes right before the lecture or the night before if possible. This will help you to comprehend what he or she is talking about in the classroom. The next most important thing is never ever hesitate to ask a teacher to repeat something or re-explain something. If you feel shy or nervous to do this in the classroom, ask the teacher for help right after the class or in his or her visiting house. They will be more than happy, I'm sure, to help you. It's like, I know some people say that there's no point in writing the stuff you already know down in a note, but I like to just quickly jot them down on the side or a margin of the paper I'm taking the note on, just so that I know those information can be related to the topic. Because when you study for exams, especially if you are in a hurry and you have a lot to study and you are stressed, it is very likely that you'll forget what you know. So always making a brief note helps you. Lastly, if you find stuff you can add to your notes when you do related reading or past papers or whatever, write them in your notes using a different color, or maybe you can use a sticky note to add them to your notes if you don't have enough space left in your notes. This actually helps you a lot in preparation of exams. Okay, on an additional note, there is a note taking system called Cornell Notes, which appears to be very efficient, but I haven't tried it because I'm very comfortable with my note taking style. And I'm sure you can find more than enough tutorials on Cornell Notes on YouTube. I can also try to find a good link and put it in the description box for you, but yeah, look out for that. Moving on to studying and exam techniques. If you are studying a subject like history, it actually helps to remember the sequence of event as a story. Okay, I used to mentally add visuals, soundtracks, and even give characters nicknames. And trust me, it helped me a lot and made studying the boring stuff a lot more fun. Okay, for a subject like biology in which you have to memorize a lot of processes and stuff, try memorizing those processes using diagrams or flowcharts or something like that. Okay, here's an example I found from one of my old biology books, which I used to remember the process of photosynthesis. The note for photosynthesis was about 4 pages long, but I could summarize this into this one little diagram, which actually helped me to memorize the entire process word by word. For definitions, I'm sorry, but there is no other way to memorize the definition other than just memorizing the whole thing. But breaking the definitions down into smaller parts can actually help to make them easier. For an example, this is a diagram I used to break down this entire definition, and obviously this is far more easier to memorize or visualize than this whole thing. Or better, this green part is a breakdown I made for this definition. I can't even think about memorizing this whole thing, but this actually made my life a lot easier. Okay, when I study, I sometimes like to read out loud, like I'm explaining or teaching that part to someone else. This helped me a lot with difficult or boring subject matter. Actually, this is quite useful when you feel like you've been reading the same line over and over again, but nothing goes into your mind. Like, when you find your concentration slipping, and okay, your family might think you're going crazy, but it helps. So that's what matters end of the day, right? The next one is mind mapping. This is a technique that works for a lot of people, but unfortunately not for me. Okay, this mind maps helps to remember the flow of a particular section. For an example, it helps you to remember what you learned under that section and what are the important areas you learned under each part, or even to identify the interrelationships between separate subject matter, which comes quite handy in exams. Okay, this is a mind map we made in the class. The lecturer who taught this subject actually made us. Oh, no, not made us. He made a mind map with us at the end of each section. So this is what a mind map looks like in my book, but of course you can personalize it the way you want. The most important thing in answering a question is to prepare an answer plan. Okay, this might take you 5 to 10 minutes of your writing time depending on the subject and the exam you're facing too, but trust me, it's worth it because it helps to organize your answer better, and also it helps you not to forget any key points because you've already jotted them down in your answer plan when you write in a haste. Okay, this is an answer plan. I'm not sure you can see it because I made it using a pencil. This answer plan was made for a 50-mark question, which was allocated about 1.5 hours to write. So when you have that sort of questions, it is very likely that you'll halfway through you'll forget what you were writing or what you were writing about. So when you have answer plan, you always have something to refer back to. So that helps you to keep you in line and to keep your focus and not miss any key points that you need in a question. Okay, usually essay type questions have more than one question combined in one question. So before anything, read the question carefully, break the question down into points, underline, highlight, number, or whatever you want, but break the question down into each separate part. Okay, this will again help you to build up a more organized answer and prevent you from forgetting to answer any part of the question. If I'm to show an example, look at this question. It says, explain what an internal control system is, how it relates to the control environment, and its likely cost, benefits, and limitation. It has 8 marks, and you have to do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different things. So if you don't break the question down like this, you might actually miss one part or two. Finally, I'm assuming that the importance of doing past papers goes without saying. Really, I cannot stress the importance of doing past papers enough. I would say try to do as many past papers as possible, but since that's not practical, try to do it at least 3 to 5 years of past papers. Okay, I really hope you found this video helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in a comment below or send me a message. Okay, then happy studying. Bye bye.